Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
Today on CityCast Philly, why did state lawmakers miss the budget deadline? And what's the deal with the Little League scandal in Springfield? Plus, new tech is coming to some ShopRites, and who's been added to the Sixers roster? It's Tuesday, July 2nd. I'm Trinae Nuri, and here's what Philly's talking about. Okay, let's get right into it. Where do you all do the bulk of your grocery shopping? What's your favorite grocery store?
Well, I don't usually have a favorite. The way I was brought up, the way I was taught by my parents and everything, you go where things are on sale. I've been to ShopRite many times. I have one in close proximity in my neighborhood. But whether it's ShopRite, whether it's Acme, I don't necessarily have a preference. But it also all depends, where you feel like going, where you feel like driving to. But ShopRite is still heavy on my list.
Got you. I mean, this is coming from a Philly native, OJ Spivey, sports correspondent for the Philadelphia Tribune. OJ, of ShopRite or Acme, which is your favorite?
Well, I will say ShopRite because their prices are normally cheaper. And I do think they have more of a selection. But ShopRites tend to be a little more crowded, depending on the neighborhood or depending on who too, because, their prices tend to be more conducive to people who are on a budget or who would like to stay on a budget, by the way. But overall, I do like ShopRite for the most part.
Okay. Isaac Evolucia, reporter at Axios Philadelphia. You're from Jersey, right?
I'm actually from Albuquerque, New Mexico. So,
I thought you were from Jersey.
I worked in Jersey for 7-8 years. So
okay.
You're right on. I might as well have adopted New Jersey as my, one of my home states. But interesting kind of segue. We have Giants in Albuquerque, where I'm from, but they're not grocery stores. So it was an adjustment for me when I came out to the East Coast, and I had to. Where I'm from, Giant is a gas station, or was a gas station. I don't know if it still exists. I don't think it does. Then I came out here and I'm like, Giant, it's a grocery store out here. But to answer your question, I'm a ShopRite guy. And sometimes I'm a Sprouts guy because it's like right down the street from me in Horsham. But I kind of like junk food and I kind of like Coke. And Sprouts, it's great for my girlfriend because she's vegan. So it's like a vegan paradise. But for like a junk food guy, and I can't get Coke, I can't get my Frescas. I can't get the stuff that I like, so I got to go to ShopRite.
Well, speaking of ShopRite, I read in Philly Voice that ShopRite is bringing some scan-as-you-go smart carts to some of its Philly regional stores. So in the article, it explains how it works. There's a small screen attached to your shopping cart. And you do your normal shopping. And while you're adding stuff into your cart, there is a running tally of all your groceries. So then you simply take your cart full of all your groceries, go to the self-checkout area and scan the barcode that's attached to your cart. And then you pay and you go. So what do you guys think about this? And also, I want to mention that this new tech is also linked to your store rewards cards and coupons. So do you like it? Would you try it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's getting to a point where everything is a matter of convenience in America. And it's like, how convenient can we get before it's just reached the point of no return? Instacart is the company behind these caper carts, as they're known. And, Instacart is catering to that segment of America that doesn't want to go to the grocery store and do their own grocery shopping, so they'll deliver it to you. But now, they're breaking into the fold and and they're creating these like AI hyper smart carts. They're very interesting to me. Like, I don't think this point was addressed in the Philly Voice story, but I wonder if a little bit has to do with this surge in retail theft. I mean, there's that skip scanning trend that you see where people don't scan certain goods at the self checkout counter. And I wonder if, on some level, this is a way to combat that. Now, the counter argument would be, well, it's an opt-in kind of system, right? So if you're looking to go to the ShopRite or the Giant or the Sprouts, wherever you're going to do your shopping, and you know you're going to jack something, well, you're not going to get the smart cart, right? You're going to just go with one of the plain regular carts. But I just kind of wonder if this is a little bit of a push to not only make things more convenient, but kind of stop people from stealing and decrease that shrink rate for some of the retailers.
Interesting point. Now, also according to the article, they're going to roll out these carts at a couple of different ShopRites in Northeast Philly, the one in Brookhaven in Delaware County, and the ShopRite at Drexel. So yeah, speaking of the ShopRite of Drexel, I noticed that they started having carts where it's like this little device that can hold your cell phone. So let's say you have a grocery list and you can pop your cell phone in there. Years ago, the new thing on a shopping cart was like having a cup holder because some of the giants had introduced Starbucks into their location. So it was like, okay, you get your Starbucks, you're sipping your Frappuccino or whatever, and you're shopping for whatever. So, but yeah, you can add your cell phone there. That's like a new thing. I'm a little hesitant on that too in some ways because somebody can walk past you and just steal your phone, and what you gonna do then? So yeah, I don't know. Tech is cool, but you got to be careful, I think.
I'm remembering, Trinae, like back in when I was a kid, about as high tech as it got. Is, you remember those carts that were like shaped like a dinosaur? They looked like a car, and like you were all, that was what you were excited for when you were a kid and you went to the grocery
You,
store. You wanted to hop in the cart that looked like a
and
car.
you know what? My behind was too big, and I was still asking, like, "Mom, can I just please sit in there? Can I please sit in there?" She's like, "No, girl, walk around the store with me." I'm like, "Dang." Anyway,
Yeah,
yes.
it's not going to be any room for kids to go on the cart if we get so high tech with what the technology that we
True.
have in the cart. Where's the place going to be for kids? But just to piggyback on kind of what Isaac said, listen, I go back to the days where if you went to a certain supermarket, you had to put a quarter in the cart to just get it out of the rack to rent it and everything. So that was about as high tech as we got back then. But just in this age of just convenience and this microwave society that we have, and now this has commiserated to shopping, right? And we all know that whenever we go to the supermarket, a lot of us, we put our phone number into the register, and then so we can get our rewards points, or, in hopes that we can get a free item or something like that because we have so many points on our rewards. I just think the drawback of just all this convenience is surveillance, because really what they're doing, they're watching our habits. They're watching our spending habits, what we buy, when we buy, how much we buy. And, I just think for the sake of convenience, we're also giving up a bit of privacy too. So, and I think that's a bit dangerous. When we think about it in the grand scheme of things, everything has become so convenient, but at what price?
Speaking of budgets and prices and all that stuff, well, Harrisburg can't get it right. For the second straight year, the new fiscal year began without a budget. Does this surprise y'all?
Not really. I mean, this happened last year. It's kind of common in governments. I know when I spent time reporting in New Jersey, when we had a government shutdown and former Governor Chris Christie was lounging on the beach, well, the rest of us were, suffering in the heat. So, this kind of political loggerheads is pretty common. It actually happened last year with Shapiro. So I don't necessarily think it's not something to be that concerned about. All the, priority bills that have to be paid are going to be paid. So there's no concern in terms of that. All the government workers are going to continue to get their salaries. And from what all the state lawmakers are saying, they're pretty close in terms of making a deal. It might even come as early as this week, according to the Associated Press that reported last week that there was an impasse between the divided House and the Senate. So I think we're going to see a deal sooner rather than later. It's a big budget, 48.3 million or 48.3 billion,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
billion with a B, that Governor Shapiro proposed, and a larger slice of that going to schools. So there's a lot to be bargained for and bartered with, but it sounds like they're pretty close to done.
And also, I think it's been a lot of news here in Philly, at least, especially with SEPTA. Now, SEPTA passed their $1.74 billion budget, but it's contingent on the state budget, ultimately including Governor Josh Shapiro's proposed allocation of $161 million towards SEPTA. If it ends up being less than that, riders could face service cuts and even fare increases. Are you optimistic though? Like, it seems like, I mean, if a budget is expected this week, are you optimistic that it would be finalized this week though? Maybe before the July 4th holiday?
Yeah, it is a short week. You do have to factor that in because lawmakers, nobody vacations as much as lawmakers because, when it's close to the holidays and everything, they get out of Dodge, faster than regular workers. So, you do hope that between today and tomorrow that the budget will get passed. But also, too, and I remember this because when my daughter was in school and she actually went to private school, but her school still relied on the states for textbooks and, materials and everything. So you just hope that it is sooner than later, so those things won't get delayed because you do have school districts, whether it's public or private, who rely on some state funding for materials, and they are preparing, even now, administrators, they're preparing now, even though it's the summer, to rely on those things to be had come September and not have any delays.
Yeah, and I use this as a corollary, but I think Shapiro is a very serious-minded governor, and I think that you look at what happened in Philadelphia with the I-95 collapse, and like I said, I'm just using that as a corollary, but they got that temporary bridge done in under 2 weeks. So when government gets serious about accomplishing government goals, government can do a lot for the people, but it needs to do it sooner and it needs to do it more often. But Governor Shapiro has showed he's a serious-minded individual. He, in his words, gets ish done.
Absolutely. Yeah. Shapiro has shown over his brief time as governor, I guess he's halfway in as far as his administration is concerned. He's shown good leadership as far as getting things done. I know he's been criticized as, okay, well, why can't we get other things done as quickly? But, also you have to understand how government works as well, how things can get done. And I know they do have billions in funding to just keep things going as far as keeping state workers paid and everything. But again, you just hope that they can just get this done this week and just Pennsylvanians can go about their merry way.
More news after the break.
Hi, I'm David Plotz, CEO of CityCast. Or, as I can say now, thanks to a few weeks with Babbel, hola, soy David Plotz, el jefe de CityCast. What if in 2024 you got a little bit better every day? When you're learning a new language with Babbel, that's exactly what you're doing. And if Babbel can help me start speaking a new language in just 3 weeks, imagine what you could do in a full year. I got started with Babbel because I realized that my girlfriend, who's a native Spanish speaker, and my son, who's in AP Spanish, were conspiring against me, or I thought they were conspiring against me in Spanish. I wanted to know what they were talking about. And now, thanks to literally just a few weeks of Babbel, I'm starting to be able to eavesdrop. It is rare that something so fun and simple, and Babbel is super fun and very simple, is also so useful. So here's a special limited time deal for CityCast listeners. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription, but only for CityCast listeners at babbel.com/CityCast. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/CityCast. Spelled BABBEL.com/CityCast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
Let's get into some more news stories. Back in May, a Little League game in Springfield was interrupted by an airplane flying over. They called out a parent by name, which then launched an investigation. Isaac, you've been following the story. You reported on this story. First off, can you just catch us up? What is going on in Springfield?
A lot is going on in Springfield. They create scandals differently in Springfield. And just to be clear, we're talking about Springfield in Montgomery County, not
Yeah, I'm
Delaware
about to
County.
say, whoa, okay.
Pennsylvania apparently isn't very creative when it comes to naming townships and jurisdictions. But there was an airplane flyover in Springfield Township that occurred on May 18th. Now, the backstory is there was a parent by the name of Zach McGee who had complained to board members of the Springfield Little League about their decision to end intramurals, the kind of soft portion, the portion of the season that's for kids that aren't as skilled, that don't go on to play summer travel ball. They decided to end that portion of the season early and not have playoffs and not crown a championship for the intramural kids in favor of jump-starting summer travel ball. Now, we'll get into a whole discussion about what summer ball entails, but it's been described in some outlets as the Little League Mafia. But he was upset about that. He complains to the board and then a regional director at Little League International. That regional director informs the board what's going on. And then lo and behold, he thinks that they changed course. They decided to go through with the intramural season, playoffs, crown a champ. He thinks it's over. But at the May 18th game, suddenly an airplane tugging a banner that says his name is Zach McGee appears out of nowhere. Now, there are Little League coaches, some of whom apparently were board members, that were clapping, that were lapping it up, thought it was the most hilarious thing. Now, Little League moms and dads were not laughing. They complained to Springfield Township Board of Commissioners. They actually convened a meeting about this. That's when we say not all scandals are created equal in the suburbs. And they had an hour to 2 hour long meeting about this issue. Now, where it comes into issue with the township is they have what's known as a land use agreement, basically an agreement that allows the Little League to use its playing fields, its baseball fields, as long as they abide certain conditions and protocols, of which parents are saying this is outright bullying, this is mean-spirited, and this violates that land use agreement with the township. That's why they got involved. The president had a meeting about this. And then actually we had a full-fledged investigation of which the president of the Little League initially said, we don't have any evidence to implicate any board members. But just last week, I had a follow-up story where they actually dismissed somebody from the board and they said that was the sole person who was responsible for commissioning this flight. And just to add a little twist to it, it ain't cheap. It costs anywhere between $650 to $1,200 to commission the airplane company that we identified as being involved in this particular stunt to tug one of those personalized banners. So you got all the mix of a scandal and a great, I love tabloid stories, having worked for a tabloid in New Jersey. You got all the ingredients of a great tabloid story here, right here.
This is so petty to me. Like, I'm coming from, and I'm speaking on as a parent of children that participated in quote unquote Little League sports. I get so discouraged by Little League coaches beefing with one another, beefs between parents, coaches and parents beefing, coaches, parents, children beefing. Like, when you just sit back and you just think about what the heck we're actually doing here, right? We are spending hundreds hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars to put our kid who is between 5 years old to 14, involving them in some type of league, right? In hopes to teach them how to work as a team, develop new skills, new friends. And the adults here are so childish that it's just like, I'm not going to keep wasting my money to have my child or me be in this type of environment where y'all are wasting y'all money, thousands of dollars to fly a damn airplane in the sky to call me out. Like, it's petty. All right, I'm gonna calm down now.
Yeah, it absolutely is petty, Trinae. And listen, I've coached and I've umpired in Little League, actually the Mount Airy Little League in Philadelphia for 5 years.
Okay.
And let me tell you that we always have the cliche of, okay, don't be that soccer mom or don't be that soccer dad. Let me tell you, Little League baseball parents can be the worst. I mean, thankfully, when I coached, for the most part, I had wonderful parents and they believed in me, they trusted in me and everything, but they can absolutely be the worst, especially T-ball, where and most times you don't even keep score. But
right. And
I mean,
and I feel like, let me speak on the parent side, right? Because you know your child, right? Some parents, right?
Yes.
They want to push their child, right? Like, hey, like I want y'all to develop these skills in my son. I want you to like kind of take out that laziness from him, or like that, he's been behind the video games, right? And you want to encourage your child. But then some parents, their child, legitimately is good, but they are the superstar. They switch teams. They have like
every kid is Bryce Harper.
Right. Or they have these like Instagram pages where it's like highlight reels. When my son was like 7, 8 years old, he was like, Mom, can I get a highlight reel? I'm like, you were 7 or 8 years old. And this was for football. And Philly football, like, it's bananas.
It's intense.
It's bananas.
It's intense,
and as far as
right.
I know, the coaches are volunteering. So that makes it even more frustrating because like you're like, I'm a volunteer. Like I have a full-time job. I then like come to the Little League to help your kid and you're yapping at me, parent, or my kid didn't get time. And like, the whole system is crazy. It's so crazy.
And the umpires and the officials, Trinae, a lot of them are they're underpaid. And I mean, a lot of them get death threats.
Yes.
And they take the brunt of abuse. And, and even on some bases, you call people from off the street to be volunteers, to be officials.
Yes.
And then they're taking all of this abuse. The coaches are taking all this abuse. And I know there are people on all tiers within Little League sports who have their motives, they have their agendas. And again, every kid thinks their child is Bryce Harper or, whoever. But it just makes no sense. But I mean, they're getting away from the kids. It's all about the kids. And, depending on what the league is, we all know, I've coached senior league. I've coached travel teams, which is big business, by the way. And that's a whole nother story, which I know Isaac can relate to, because these teams go all around the country and there are parents who spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to invest in their kid just to believe that they'll either get a college scholarship or that's their meal ticket to retire. So it gets really, really deep and crazy.
It's crazy. Like they basically, in some level, turned this into the latest Kendrick Lamar beef in Springfield. It's ridiculous. And I understand why, because I understand the greater totality of the picture. To your point about summer ball, you're investing a lot in your kid. You're wanting them to get a scholarship. You're wanting them to have a future. So how dare this parent complain when, in their view, we got bigger fish to fry, But it comes back to, what are you really teaching the kids? Is it about a few elite kids who might have the opportunity to play at a bigger level, collegiate or perhaps professionally? Or is it about fundamentally what Little League we've always hoped it to be about, instilling good values, teamwork, sportsmanship in these kids, teaching them accountability? And if this was a lesson in accountability, boy, oh boy, are those kids going to grow up to be entitled.
Speaking of sports news, did you all hear the news about possible new players being added to the Sixers roster? I read that free agent forward Paul George has agreed to a 4-year, $212 million maximum contract with the Sixers. That was according to some reporting from 6ABC. OJ, George coming to Philly, how big of a deal is this?
It is a huge deal. It is the deal that most Sixers fans have been waiting for. And whether you like Paul George or not, Sixers fans have been waiting for Daryl Morey and the Sixers brass to just do something to make them a contender. We already have Joel Embiid. You already have Tyrese Maxey, who is going to sign his extension as well. He's going to get a max contract as well. But they've been waiting for Daryl Morey and the Sixers brass to just do something so they can contend with the Boston Celtics, so they can contend with the New York Knicks. You saw how they were in the playoffs and how little bit of firepower they had beyond Embiid and Maxey. But this is the guy that they can bring in, even though he is 34 years old. But he is the guy that they can bring in to just help them be a contender. And that's all that you ask as a Sixers fan, is that the management is doing everything they can to compete for a championship, especially considering Joel Embiid and how long he has left to be an elite player in the NBA.
Speaking of Big Three, Isaac, you said the Big Three controversy beef between Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, and Drake. I feel like, could Embiid, Maxey, and George be the new Big Three?
I think, between him and Tyrese, this is a great big three. I think the question mark, and it's always been the question mark with Paul George, is he's very injury prone. I
Same
think
with
that
Embiid,
the
though, too,
knock
right?
on
Like his knees. Oh,
Embiid as well. Right? But, those two together, that's the big question. Can they stay healthy enough to get the Sixers back to the promised land? And in particular with Paul George, that's his legacy. He's even admittedly said this, that his legacy in LA as a Clipper was not being able to finish and being injury prone. This is comments that he made to the Los Angeles Times last year. There's no question that the guy can put it and pour it in numbers, but it's a matter of, can he stay healthy and can he be consistent? Because that's really what the Sixers need. I feel like they were on the cusp this year, even with the Knicks. That was a great series, and Embiid was at half speed. I mean, there were times where I was scared for him every time he jumped. He looked very labored. He looked like he was favoring that right knee, that he had the torn meniscus, or I apologize, the left knee, that he was just laboring on. And I was frightened every time that he jumped, but he gutted through, he powered through. And the Sixers have been there kind of on the cusp the last couple of years. The year before we were in the conference finals with the Celtics, and we just needed a little bit extra. And, then Harden goes away and we need that third guy. But the NBA, going back as far back as Michael Jordan, has always been, in my personal opinion, a 3-superstar league. You look at Michael Jordan back, he couldn't get it done when it was just him. With the Pistons, he needed Scottie Pippen, he needed Tony Kukoc, he needed Dennis Rodman. You need all these other supplemental parts that give you that extra go when it comes down to brass tacks in the playoffs. And I feel like Paul George, if he's healthy, gives them that extra gear.
and then on Sunday night, Andre Drummond tweeted, quote, "I'm in the mood for a Philly cheesesteak," with a hug emoji. And according to NBC Philadelphia, Drummond agreed to a 2-year, $10+ million deal with the Sixers that has a player option in the second year. And this is not Drummond's first time with the Sixers, right, OJ?
Yeah, that's correct. And I always wanted him to stay with the organization, but I understand, things happen, contracts happen and everything. But I think this is a good pickup too, an important pickup that people can't undervalue, because Drummond will finally be, I will say again, he can be that adequate backup for Joel Embiid. Isaac just talked about, Embiid laboring during the playoffs. I mean, Drummond can be that guy that can give you minutes to where you don't have to play Joel Embiid as much. I mean, Drummond is an older guy now, not the same player as he was the first time that he was here with the Sixers, but, they finally have that backup center where, you can rely on, you can, have someone on the court and you won't lose all that much. Especially with the defense, with rebounding and all those things. So Drummond is good pickup. They also brought back Kelly Oubre, wing player who fit in well last year with both Embiid and Maxey. So this is the nucleus that we'll see going forward, and hopefully it'll commiserate to the Sixers going far in the playoffs, or at least getting past the second round.
Yes, and I'll also add that the Sixers also picked up Jared McCain and Adem Bona. Before we sign off, any special plans for Thursday, which is July 4th this year?
Well, for me, it's always, you find out, as far as family and friends, who's cooking out, who's having the best barbecue. But of course, you always look forward to the Welcome America celebration and the concerts and everything. So I look forward to attending that as well.
Yeah, and then me, I'm keeping it light. My girlfriend and I were just hanging out with another couple of our friends, and we're going to a fireworks display in Lancaster. So I'm looking forward to that. We went to Shady Brook Farms last year, and they had a drone show. I don't know what to expect out of Lancaster, but the drone show and the fireworks show was like a coup last year. So I'm hoping Lancaster show is equally as good.
Nice. Well, I'm going to do a combination of both of your ideas. I'm going to go to the Wow Wow Welcome America concert, and I'm going to see the fireworks show. I love the loud sounds. I love that, you feel the fireworks frequency go through your whole body. And it's just the bright lights and spending quality time with family and friends. Well, OJ Spivey, sports correspondent for the Philadelphia Tribune, and Isaac Avalucia, reporter at Axios Philadelphia. Thank you both so much for joining me on CityCast Philly.
Thank you, Trinae. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Trinae. Enjoy your weekend or your holiday.
That's all for today here on CityCast Philly. Whew, we packed a lot of news stories in there. If you enjoyed this episode, tell a friend, rate the show, leave us a review, and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to sign up for our morning newsletter, Hey Philly, to learn more about what else Philly's talking about. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye. All right, now it's the sports.
Now, we're about to get in the good segment.
Right.
The stuff that me and OJ like, the sports stuff. Let's do it.